Welcome to Let's Thrive Postpartum, where we tackle postpartum depression and anxiety head on, guiding you back to yourself. Join Kelly Siebold, founder of Thrive Postpartum, and Ashley Moore, a maternal mental health therapist. Through honesty and laughter, we share expert advice and real stories. While not therapy or medical advice, you'll find education, support, and hope. Welcome to the village. Let's thrive postpartum.
Welcome back to Let's Thrive Postpartum. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Ashley.
Thank you guys for joining us again this week. Ashley, how has your week been?
It's been interesting. My daughter's been sick, so it's just always hard navigating, like changing everyone's schedules to be able to stay at home while they get better. But that does mean sometimes that the days are a little slower, which is kind of nice. We get to just sit on the couch and not be on the go so much. So it's good and it's hard at the same time.
I hope she feels better. But there is that silver lining. Like you say, you don't want your child to be sick, but when they are, you do get a little bit more quality time with them to care for them in ways that you wouldn't get to in a normal day if you're having to look for the positive.
I know. Well, and it's a nice reminder, I think, sometimes for me when I have those little moments where I'm like, wow, even though she's sick, we both are like, we kind of just feel more connected and rested. And it always inspires me to try and bring more of that into like typical non-sick life.
Yes.
What about you? What's been going on so far?
Ours has been good. We just got back. We took a family vacation to the mountains for a long weekend. And right now where we are in South Carolina, it's 5,000 degrees outside and pure humidity. And in the mountains of North, it is. In North Carolina, there's no humidity. It was 85. We sat outside on the back porch and looked at the mountains during the daytime.
What? What is that?
Right? It felt like October, November weather down here. It was heaven. And there's something about taking 4 days away from life to recharge, to spend quality time. Our daughter's just old enough where we could go do adventures with her in the mountains. It was lovely. And it's kind of a perfect tie-in to our topic today, not intentional at all, but there's something about taking time for yourself and your family and just recharging and really looking at self-care and how you can help yourself.
Yeah, I know. I'm really excited to talk about this. I think it's something we've talked before, Kelly, about certain words or phrases that sometimes people say to moms that make you kind of just cringe. Self-care is one of those. I'll hear a lot of people like, oh my gosh, if someone tells me one more time, like you have to practice self-care, I'm going to explode. And I get it. And so it is a good word, right? It's the correct word for what it is. It's caring for yourself. But I always remind myself and remind lots of my clients and even friends, like why it's so important, like what it looks like, how to try and fit it in, how to recognize in life, like when you need it. And a lot of it goes back to paying attention. Talked about this a lot too, just kind of paying attention to yourself and being in tune with how you feel, what you need, and noticing when it's time to take a little break from everything and give yourself some attention.
And you're right. There's so many things in what you just said. Coming back to that self-care, it is very much a social media word. And I think I'm one of those moms who wants to hit people that say, well, you have to do self-care. It's almost like the phrase itself has become very stigmatized. You feel guilty if you do it. You're a bad mom for having to go pamper yourself. And so many times, or at least on social media, if you're looking through different profiles, it looks very much like I'm going to go to the spa. I'm going to go do this, where that is a form of self-care, but that's not always the self-care that you need if you're struggling with postpartum depression and anxiety. What does it look like? How does it feel? So Ashley, I guess from the therapist side, why do we need self-care? And is it selfish to take time for yourself?
I'll shout it from the rooftops. No, self-care is not selfish. I think it's so important to remember, and I think everybody intellectually, or when you think about it, realizes that when you are feeling your best, you are the best version of yourself. You're more enjoyable to be around. You're able to tolerate more hard moments, AKA like kids crying and tantrums and that kind of thing, when you're feeling depleted and burnt out and not supported, it is much harder to tolerate those interactions that happen 1,000 times a day with kids with big feelings. And so as a mom, especially if you are working through like postpartum anxiety and postpartum depression, paying attention to yourself and making sure that your needs are being met. Not every need is going to be able to be met every single day, but that on the whole, you're feeling that every day you are getting what you need socially, physically. We talk about with Thrive, body, mind, soul, role, right? Like, are you nourishing your body? Are you getting the rest that you need? Are you having social connections that feel good? Like, are you filling yourself up so that you have, for lack of a better term, like the fullest bucket possible to pour from as a mom for everyone in your family? And so that doesn't just happen automatically. You have to sometimes be really intentional about doing things for yourself, because sometimes they're not going to automatically be done by other people for you.
It's so true. And I think one of the things that when I was going through this and working with a therapist, we were in the low of the low, saying go do self-care sounded great, but I didn't know how to do it because I didn't know what made me happy. Couldn't figure out what are those few things. I knew I didn't have time to go to the spa or to go take a bath or to do whatever it was. But if I had 3 minutes or 5 minutes, just an idea, I sat on my phone and wrote down things that before I had a baby made me happy. And those were my self-care things. And so when I had 4 minutes, I would pull out my phone because I couldn't remember what to do. And for me, it's listening to my favorite murder podcast. Let's talk about some true crime, have a cup of coffee and sit on my front porch. And if I can do that once a day for a few minutes in those really dark moments, that was my self-care. And Ashley, true crime podcast might not be your self-care, right? I mean, everybody's different.
It's different for everyone.
Yeah, that make you just feel like you a little bit. What did you do for self-care? What's really been beneficial for you?
So the first time around, I was very bad at it. I connected with another mom to go on walks. I love being outside, and it was December in DC and it was freezing and there was snow and ice on the ground. But I found another mom with a baby my son's age, and we would bundle them up and go on walks, just getting some fresh air and getting outside. With my second, I think I was a little more aware of like how much I need some of the social interactions, just like talking with friends and seeing people and being out and going to sitting at a restaurant outside and just being out in the world. And I was a lot more intentional about doing that. So whether it was a walk, going to have lunch, even when she was a newborn, like having the stroller next to me and the bassinet and stuff like that, being out and about in the world was really important. I made sure to prioritize like rest and sleep, especially the first couple of weeks postpartum. Sleep is not ever guaranteed, but I just was intentional about not overdoing it right every day. And if there were times where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired, to ask my husband to do something else in the evening with our toddler so that I had a little extra quiet time, or to take him to school in the mornings. And I just kind of made a plan those first couple of weeks to make sure that I was getting as much time as I could, just resting and doing nothing.
And it's so needed for your mental health. If you're not sleeping, we all know how terrible you feel and how much that impacts what's going to happen. And I think you're right. That was part of my self-care that I didn't know I needed. And I knew I needed sleep. But when my husband was back at work, I was back at work, there was no sleep. So we ended up having to go for a night nanny every other day for a couple weeks just for me to catch up, because I couldn't sleep and I needed that little bit of self-care. And while it wasn't the most financially great decision, it's what I needed for my life. Basically, it was like, let's make that hard decision. But just saying, how do you find extra support?
Yeah. Well, and I think too, it's important to remember that your self-care changes or self-care needs are going to change over time. Like what I need now with a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old is very different than what I needed with a newborn. Still need sleep, still not quite getting enough sleep, but there's a lot of other things now that I try to intentionally add into my life or kind of adjust that are self-care that either just wasn't needed or wasn't appropriate at the time of having a newborn, and that's okay. Like your needs are going to change over time. It's more about, can you have that conversation with yourself and figure out what that is today?
Yeah. And thinking through what's going to help me have my needs met today. Ashley, some of that may be, I need a break. Away from my children for a few minutes. I need to go have dinner with friends so that I feel like me again. How, as a mom, do you do that without feeling that little bit of guilt or shame or that this is really selfish? How do you process those emotions in a way that makes sense and also encourages you to do more self-care?
Yeah. I think it's kind of like what I said in the beginning, that if you can really truly believe and acknowledge that when you as a mom are feeling your best, that is what enables you to then be the best mom for your kids. If you really believe that and can acknowledge that, then it's much easier to let go of some of the guilt and shame, because it's coming from a place of like, I am doing this. I heard this phrase today, like I'm kind of doing this in service of my kids. Like, I need something to feel my best so that then I turn around and am the best mother possible, right? Like, I have a higher tolerance for the yells. I have more patience. I am ready to like be fully engaged in games. I hear moms a lot of the time just talk about it is hard wanting to play certain games and kid games and that kind of thing, and doing it all day. Yeah, is tough. Some people love it. Some people don't. It's okay. Wherever you fall on that. But just saying like, I'm doing this because I need it. And when I'm feeling my best, I get to give my best to my family. And I mean, we do everything, it seems like, for our kids. And so this is for you, but it also, your kids benefit from it when you're taking care of yourself.
And if that could be a mom life mug, that would be amazing. One of the quotes that we see out there, because so many times it is stereotyping, moms tend to be very selfless in a lot of areas. I'm doing this for my kids. I'm not worth it. But saying this is something I'm doing for my kids so that I'm a better mother is just the best way to position it, because it's true.
Yeah.
It innately takes away all that guilt and shame. You're not doing it for you. You are, so that you can be a better mom. That's where your focus is.
And it's okay that it's different for every woman, right? Some people need more time to themselves. Others don't. It's kind of thinking about what fills you up. I love the word restored. Like, how do you get back to a place where you feel restored? Because again, it doesn't just magically happen. And so those days, if you're having a hard day or you feel like your temper's been short and you're frustrated and things just you're not feeling good, it's always helpful to say, like, what do I need today? Like, what do I need? Because when you're feeling your best and you're taking care of yourself, you do tend to have a higher tolerance for hard moments. Any human does. It's not just women, it's anybody.
We do. So how do you talk to your partner about this? What idea do you have? Because it's one thing you knowing, I need this for me. I need to go out with friends. How do you have a conversation with whoever is your support person and helping you, if you have one, where it's not just like, hey, I'm abandoning you. I need this for me. What advice do you have?
I know this one is so hard. We touched on it probably a little bit when we were talking about relationships in another conversation. I think it's always helpful if you have a partner to come at it out of curiosity and asking each other, having a conversation with each other, like, what fills each of us up, right? Like talking to your partner and saying, what do you need? What do you miss? Like, what do you feel like is something you love you haven't gotten to do? Here's some of the things that I love that I would like to start doing again, or that I want to make more time for, and agree to help prioritize that for each other, because each person in the family dynamic needs that, right? It's fair to say that everybody does need time to figure out and to do the things that make them feel good. And so I think it's easier when it comes from a place of, I believe what my partner says they need, and I'm happy to help them help make that happen. And in turn, they are going to help me achieve what I want. Doesn't always happen and work out beautifully that way. There's often a lot of resentment, right? Like people feeling like one person is taking way more time than the other to themselves, or that one person gets to leave and go do X, Y, and Z. That's really common. And I think that comes down to how you're communicating with each other and the strength of your relationship, right? Do you believe your partner when they say, I really need this? And if you don't, that's like a whole other conversation.
That's good point. Right. But if they really are struggling and you can see they need a little bit to add back to their cup,
yeah,
probably time to let them to work out something or an arrangement where you can both get help is a good thing.
Yeah. Well, and it goes back to, again, like when you're feeling positive and good and you're doing things that fill you up, you're a more enjoyable person to be around. I know I am.
It's true. When you are running on nothing, you're running on nothing. And you're short with your child. Life is bad. Everything you look at has that gray cloud over it in life.
Yeah.
But a little bit of you time, at least for me, I need a lot of alone time. So having some alone time to myself just makes everything a little bit better. I get tired being around people all the time, right? You need a little bit of that recharge moments.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I mean, families are kind of like these little machines. And if everything is going to be running smoothly, each piece needs to be running like as best as possible. And like I said, that level of patience and tolerance and all of these things that mothers are supposed to have, they just don't appear out of thin air. Like they have to come from inside you, but they can't come or show up when you're feeling not your best.
No, and I think trying to find those times. So depending on where your child is and what stage of life, you're right. You do have more times, you have different needs. And sometimes getting those self-care and those needs are hard when your child is very young, or if you're struggling really hard. Having those moments to get out, to go do things can sound like a lot. I think you even told me at one point, listening to a podcast with earbuds while I'm driving and my child's crying in the back car, that's self-care. And finding those little moments for you, for your sanity, are just little moments. If you don't have a ton of time, how do you fit it in if you can't get away?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't come up with this term. Everybody's seen the term glimmers, right? Like sometimes, yeah, financially or time-wise, you don't have the ability to do some grand self-care gesture to yourself, you know? But when you add up these little moments from a day that you were saying, I'm doing this just for myself, whatever that might be, those do add up. And that makes a huge difference when you're able to, at least when you lay down at night and you're like, well, no, I did some things for myself today. That feels good. Rather than laying down, we've all had those days where we lay down and we're like, oh my gosh, all I did all day long was give. I'm empty. I'm tired. We're going to start over again tomorrow.
Yes. And how do you find that one thing that you can do for yourself tomorrow?
Yeah. What do you like to do, Kelly, now? Like, what's a small thing that you think is impactful?
It is still, there's nothing happier to me than my front porch swing. I mean, that is sitting on my front porch swing in the fresh air with the podcast on is still, I might do it for 30 minutes. I might do it for 25 minutes. Getting to go back out and see friends and feel like I have a life again probably does it the best. But if I can't get away, if work is busy or whatever, still just going outside and a podcast still makes me happy. It's just the little things. I just do it more now.
Yeah. I had a friend tell me not too long ago, before it was 5,000 degrees in Charleston, that she goes outside. She works from home and she goes outside every day at lunch. She has a little lawn chair and just sits and like looks up at the sun, eyes closed, for like 5 minutes. And was like, you know what? I could do that. I could easily do that. And I did it for a couple of days. And it really is just wonderful. Like, we could do a whole episode on the benefits of like nature and all the science and research behind that. But again, it's like, doesn't have to be anything grand.
It doesn't. Yes, it was grand to go away for a weekend and be in the mountains and disconnect and do all that. But it also feels just as good. I'm going to have to work at a laptop remotely. Go do it outside on the front porch. At least get the fresh air, hear the birds singing, do all that. Really does bring a little bit of joy. So there's so many different ways you can do self-care. And I think that's what, if you're listening, sit down and think, what are the little things and the big things, right? Not every time you can go away for the weekend. Not every time can you go out with friends or do different things. What can you do in small moments and big moments that make you feel like you?
And I also like thinking about making a list, Kelly. Some of the bigger things would be kind of fun to set as like goals, right? Like, it's okay to dream, to say like, I would love one day, like I would love to go and do this. If it's by yourself or if it's as a family or if it's with a partner, you know, maybe you have even one of each, like a big dream for myself, a big dream of something to do with my partner, and a big dream of something to do as a family, because there's also nothing better than like that kind of hope and excitement when you have a goal that you're trying to like work towards and figure out. I just thought about that. I need to do that with my family.
We need to set a goal. Sometime in the next few weeks, we need to I think we need to set a goal today of what both of our something big for self-care for us is. And then I think we need to come back and say we did it.
Yeah.
Think about that for a second. If you were doing something, a goal big thing for you that would make you happy and feel more like Ashley.
Yeah. Well, one of them is something I am actually doing this fall that I'm excited about, which is going away. I'm going to Greece for a yoga retreat. And yoga is something for me that has become really important in terms of just my mental health and feeling my best and taking care of myself. And I've never been on a yoga retreat or anything that's more formal like that. I've always wanted to. And I kind of spoke it aloud several months ago, and we decided to figure out how to make it happen. And we did. So I'm going in September.
So excited for you. I feel like you might need to podcast with us from there.
I know, right? I should
experience it, hear all about it. I've never done one either, nor have I been to Greece. And I'm very excited for you. Can't wait to.
I've never done it either. But I think like for me, that's my personal one. I think as a family, I'm really looking forward in the fall. We want to do a camping trip. It's going to be hard, but
great memories.
Great memories, good connection time. All of us really love being outside and up in the mountains. And I know that intentionally unplugging, right? Like no electronics, no phones, that kind of thing, I know is going to be really great for like the whole family. So that's something that we're going to try and do. That's just good connection building.
That sounds heavenly. It's very much what we did this past weekend. And there's just something, we came back to like a much closer, more connected family in the best way possible.
I love that. What about you, Kelly? What comes to mind?
I was thinking about this while you were talking because I was trying to figure out what would my big self-care goal be. I used to love to run. It was my happy place to go run. I have not ran since my daughter was born. It's been 2.5 years. I'm slightly terrified. Things aren't the same as they used to be everywhere. It's also July in Charleston, so it's 900 degrees outside. But I'd love to run a 10K. A marathon's my goal. But if I could just run a 10K between now and the end of the year, I may start in the evenings doing the very slow couch to 5K. If you ever want to get into running, it's the best way. I may start doing that, and by the end of the year, be back into it. If I could just run again, that was my stress relief. No headphones, just meditating while you do it.
Yeah.
That would be my biggest self-care. If I could make myself do that again.
That's wonderful. What do you think you need to like the jump start to do that?
I think it's the fear of what if this doesn't work like it used to?
Yeah.
But again, baby steps. You start and you do it. And I know that.
Yep. Yeah. Sometimes just the reminder and telling yourself like just because it's different doesn't mean that it's wrong or bad, right? Like everything changes. Lots of things change about your body and everything after you have a baby. But just because it's different doesn't mean that it can't still be good in some way.
Yes. And I'm a slow runner. I'm okay with that. So if I'm even slower, as long as I'm beating a turtle, I'm good. I'm not trying to win a race. I'm just trying to do it. So that is going to be let's do some big dream self-care.
I love that.
I think you're right. Adding in that big, what would you like to do? Speak it aloud and give yourself something positive to work towards or look forward to in the universe.
Yeah. What about family-wise, Kelly? What would you want to do? Big dream.
And I think I didn't add that because literally my big dream was just this past weekend. Let's go away. I think, and this is maybe speaking to the university, again, we have not done a family vacation, just my husband and my daughter. We've always had family with us. That first was very intentional because I had a lot of anxiety. I wanted more support system. I finally feel like the three of us could go somewhere away. It wouldn't be as much a vacation as we're just parenting somewhere different, right? You're still parenting somewhere. But if we went on a weekend, small weekend, just the three of us, where we just went and did a family vacation. His dad and stepmom were with us this past weekend. And so if it were just us three, that would be my big. That we did it successfully. Everybody was okay. Nobody had panic attacks.
Yeah.
Be my big family one. Just the three of us.
There you go. Isn't it kind of fun to say something like that out loud? You're like, oh,
It kind of is, but also I'm like, oh, that's anxiety. But it's good. Like that would be really fun to do.
Yeah, that would be really fun. Yeah. Anybody listening out there, think about that. Like, say out loud something, even if it seems impossible. I love the idea of like talking about dreams and goals and that kind of thing, because it gives you something to look forward to, gives you a sense of control, something you can start planning and like put wheels in motion for, which is really exciting. Kind of can bring you and a partner together to like plan for it together and talk about how to make it happen.
You're right. Think about it. I love a good spreadsheet that tells me how much I should run and how much I ran today. And it's insane. And it also just, the control freak in me loves it. So part of it is planning and checking off every day. That brings me joy, even though it's just small pieces to a goal.
Yeah.
And we're going to go look and find somewhere to go on vacation. So I've got a more finite dream in my head of a legit place.
Great.
Okay, look at us having self-care. And right there, self-care
I know.
was even just dreaming and having that moment to say, what if you could do? Like that feels great. What if you could do it?
I know. What if you could?
And you can. Isn't that what life's about? Going for it?
Yeah. Yeah. I like to think so.
Well, we hope today that you got some good ideas of things to do for self-care. And it can be everything from that 1 minute that makes you happy to that big goal that you want to set for yourself of this is something that's really going to touch me on the inside and really help me fill my cup up. I know both of us are going to try to continue to do both. And I love the idea of having that really big dream. So thank you for that. And thank you for walking us through and reminding us, what did you say? You're a better mother if you're taking care of yourself. You said it more eloquently than me.
You kind of, if you're taking care of yourself, you're able to give the best version of yourself to your kids. And what a wonderful thing to be able to do, to feel like your kids are getting the best version of you.
Absolutely. And that you're getting the best version of yourself too.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So moms, self-care is not selfish. It's important.
It's not. Go do it.
Yeah. But there's also, I acknowledge too, there's not a mom in the world that doesn't say like, oh, but I feel guilty leaving or I feel guilty doing this. But if you really can sit there and say, I need this, then you need it. And there's nothing wrong with that.
You do. And if I can go try to run in the July heat, I think you can make anything happen.
You can do it, Kelly.
Moms, it was so good to be with you again this week. And we will see you next week. Hope you get some good self-care. Thanks.
Dream big.
If you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful, please be sure to hit subscribe, leave us your feedback, and give us a 5-star review. For even more support, visit us at wethrivepostpartum.com/podcast to sign up for our newsletter and learn more about our community. Remember, you are not alone. With support, you can feel better. Together, let's thrive postpartum.